Oh, wait, was this going to be a new episode, or are we just going to pick up where we left off the last recording?
I still had a couple pages of notes
Yeah.
on Words of Radiance, so I was going to keep going.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure if we should just treat it like it's a new episode or...
Oh, I think we should treat it like
together.
a new episode.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Damn.
I have something.
Oh, yeah?
So, your mother was asking for our Christmas lists already.
Oh, good Lord. All right, we're recording this on November 7th. And yes, we've gotten not one, not two, several requests for Christmas lists for us and the kids.
So I thought I might go on Dragonsteel, figure out if there was anything on Dragonsteel that I wanted.
Oh, dear. The answer is yes, there's a lot of things I want.
There are 4 different versions of holiday sweaters, or ugly sweater. Only one of them is titled an ugly sweater, but the rest of them are just holiday sweaters.
Oh, yeah?
I had a hard time picking which one I wanted.
Oh, yeah?
There's a very cute Doom Slug holiday sweater.
Aww.
But I think I picked out Trust of the Emerald Sea, and then there's a Cosmere one, and then...
I think I've seen that one.
There's also the one that was labeled as ugly sweater, I think was a Mistborn sweater.
Which kind of...
ugly, but it's red, and red's not my thing.
Because we were talking the other day about, you were wanting cloaks to come back into fashion, right?
They didn't have any cloaks.
They didn't have any cloaks on Dragonsteel.
Like, where the F are the cloaks for sale? Like, I would do a really good, like, a good quality, like, nice looking cloak. I would do that. I'd put that on my Christmas list.
I know you were thinking, like, Dalinar and, the coat with his house symbol on there. But I'm like, you know that if they ever put a cloak as a fashion accessory on Dragonsteel, the very first one would have to be a mist cloak.
No one.
Mist cloak.
Abominable things. Like, not every idea that Brandon came up with was genius, okay? Point in fact, mist cloaks, number one reason.
It's about the aesthetic.
So you can get flapped in the face by all this wind that is rustling up all of these tassels?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well, hello and welcome to Cosmere Casual, your casual reader's guide to Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. I'm your co-host, the, fashion conscious, fashion unconscious, Nick Gorman.
And I'm your co-host, as of yet, sweaterless, AJ Gorman.
You're wearing a hooded sweatshirt right now.
But it's not a Christmas sweater.
No, it's fair.
Or a holiday sweater.
Although I will note that I'm wearing red, you're wearing green. Maybe there's a theme here. I don't know.
It could be.
What are we talking about today?
I have so many notes.
Yeah, I was about to say, we have a lot to finish up with our Words of Radiance discussion. You've already finished reading Shadows of Self. I'm still behind. Yeah.
We gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
So,
spoilers for everything in this episode, right? Lots of Cosmere stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yalb.
Yalb?
Yalb.
Yalb.
Yalb. I have no idea what or who Yalb is.
Well, he's a sailor on
but
the Wind's Pleasure.
He is something.
I think he's just a fan favorite.
He seems uncommonly comfortable with weird Spren.
Yeah.
And the deck changing colors and like so nonchalant.
Maybe he's just an island. Maybe he's just a Jimmy Buffett kind of guy.
He barely feels the cold. Always going around shirtless.
I'm just thinking he's a Jimmy Buffett kind of guy.
And I forget who said this, but somebody said Yalb is far too skilled at persuasion for his own good sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that does kind of track with World Hopper stuff, but like he doesn't.
There's too many coincidences around Yalb, and the fact that he was one of the few that survived the shipwreck.
Right, but
if readers who were not paying close attention, Shallan had kind of looking into her fortune and did a sketch of Yalb and a couple other sailors that did survive the shipwreck.
Yeah. And I mean, we later see him in Dawn Shard.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's something funny about Yalb. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. There's something about Yalb. One other thing that I have written down here for Yalb is that, so this is speaking about Shallan, she did a quick sketch of Yalb, though the face felt off to her, and she didn't quite capture the mischievous spark in his eyes. Is it mischievous or mischievous?
Whatever. I think this is because that he doesn't have his body quite right. Like, what if he is...
I don't think he's a sleepless.
Well, maybe he's a different kind of Cosmere creature that we haven't come across.
Maybe. I don't know, man. Something's weird about Yalb.
Yeah, something's weird about Yalb.
Just keep your eye out, all right?
I
would love to hear some theories.
Yeah.
Oh, Sigil. I always want to say Cecil, but it's Sigil.
Danzig.
So, my brain has a hard time kind of putting the Sigil that we see in Stormlight Archive together with the Sigil that we see in Sunlit Man.
I mean, I kind of have a hard time. Well, yeah, I have a hard time putting the Sig together from Way of Kings with the one we see as Oathbringer, right? Like, I feel like, yeah.
He goes through many stages, and it's really hard to keep up. Like, he goes through so many stages where you like think like that he should be a main character, and he is eventually becoming a main character. But like,
I mean, yeah, like especially the Sunlit Man.
It's a little frustrating being further away from Sigil on rereads.
Yeah.
Sigil makes a comment in Words of Radiance of, it's nice to be seen as a hero, isn't it? And this was him referencing the Bridge 4, went and saved the Kholin army, and they came back and they were really appreciated as heroes. And, Sigil's like, yeah, isn't this nice? Which is in stark contrast to the events and mood of Sunlit Man.
Yes.
So I'm just getting whiplash from Sigil.
Well, but like, and
then he didn't want to do anything, in Way of Kings because he was grumpy.
They were all depressed.
They were all depressed.
They had all been given death sentences, right? They were, But I mean, he has other traumas between, Words of Radiance and Sunlit Man, right? And that, that shapes him.
Yeah. It's just hard going from, skipping so many important chapters.
Yeah.
And there's the other kind of thing surrounding the fact that Sigil did an apprenticeship with Hoyd, and he's, always talking about my master. My master taught me to ask questions and to find precise answers. I don't think I ever seen Hoyd do this. Asking questions, yes. Finding precise answers, I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know, man. Hoyd is, we could talk about Hoyd until the cows come home, right? Because I don't know, man.
I don't know either, because he's still obviously very much attached to Hoyd, and we see this from other characters throughout the Cosmere that have apprenticed under Hoyd. They do get very attached to Hoyd. Even Kaladin, who never really apprenticed under Hoyd, is like...
Right.
Well, I guess Shallan would probably be a better example of that.
Well, but they both, they do love Hoyd, right? But
I don't know if love's the right word.
You hugged wit.
Yeah. They feel a connection.
Yeah. Lowercase c. Or
yes.
maybe uppercase c. We'll find out, I suppose.
I
Probably
was
not.
intending lowercase c.
Yeah. But I don't know, you definitely know by Sunlit Man, of course, Sigil does feel more betrayed by, he does not care for Hoyd by Sunlit Man, right? So, I don't know.
But Sigil is also, very intuitive. I don't know if this is, because Sigil also asked, hey, this whole assassin in white thing, the fact that, kind of the timing and, why did the Parshendi use the assassin in white? And that's really getting to the fact that Ishar or Ishilin or whatever, the bondsmith, sent Zeth, the assassin in white, into the city at the right time for the Parshendi to use him.
Yep.
So... everybody's, wondering how they're going to save, Dalinar and the king from this assassin in white, and Sigil's sitting there asking the right questions of, how did this whole arrangement happen? Who's really pulling the strings?
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to getting back into kind of more of that long, big picture thinking from Sigil in future books.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, because do we find out in this book that he wasn't accepted as a, whatever it is, not a scholar, but in Aegis Society, or is that in a different book?
I think it's in a different book.
Yeah, but we do get our first glimpses of Aegis culture in Lift's Interlude in particular, and it's Sig, Sig sort of embodies that, certainly within...
In rigid thinking, too.
Yeah. But you got to have all the right forms, yeah. And yeah, he's very bookish. bureaucratic.
Like, yeah, you can be gay. You just need to fill out the proper forms. It's just like, what?
Yeah. Yes. Good with logistics, too.
Yes. He's also has he has taken on some of kind of Hoyd's traits and getting people to tell him things. Teft in particular laments about the fact, and he made you tell him things too.
I don't know. Whereas Hoyd, I think, charms you into it. I get the feel from Sig that he just badgers you a lot. And because
I think that evolves. I mean, I'll evolve we see him evolve over
the
Stormlight Archive. At first he sucks at telling stories. There's very much a point that he sucks at telling stories.
Which is ironic, considering his profession.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about
get more
Sigil.
Sig.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what Sig scenes.
Let's talk about Teft. I think it was so cute that Kaladin got glory spren looking at Teft leading the recruits.
Yeah. He's
totally foreshadowing for Teft getting his own spren, but...
Well, and Kaladin being a proud mama bear.
Yeah. It's hard to let go and, have people...
Absolutely.
delegate responsibility.
I know some of the people who listen to this podcast are my coworkers, and it's like, yeah, no, I can't fucking let go of I can't let go. Someone else could do it, and they'll do it wrong, or at least they'll do it differently from how I would.
Sometimes I'm really happy for them to do it differently than I did, because
That's fair. Sometimes I fuck it up.
Yep.
It happens.
But there's a lot of weight and heaviness and trauma with Teft.
Well, and you start to see him, you don't see him totally spiral out with his addiction
in this book,
but the early signs are there, and people are starting to get concerned about him.
Yeah, he's missing, he's just MIA.
Yeah,
often
he's starting to flake. Yeah.
I think someone around him had thought, I think Kaladin had thought this, whoever these people had been, they were dead because of something Teft himself had done.
Yeah.
Which is really definitely a heavy thing, no matter what the kind of details were. I think, having Kaladin kind of just summarize it like that is no matter what the reasons or the ethics or, the things involved, that's a heavy thing right there.
And us from the outside can, say well, clearly it's not your fault. You were, he was a child, basically.
But it doesn't change the facts.
Well, no, I mean, the facts are also that it's not like he's the one who sentenced them to death. It's not, he's not the one who made them do the things, right? He was one step along the causal chain.
Yeah.
But it's not,
Well, let's just kind of, let's lay it out so we're not just kind of talking about this amorphously. So, Teft's parents were...
members of a death cult.
Called the Envisagers.
Envisagers, that's right.
Which is different from the Aegis. The Aegis have another term. That's similar, but anyways, Envisagers.
They really wanted the Knights Radiant to return.
And they had actually kept a lot of knowledge from the Knights Radiant, so they knew things that were kind of lost to history.
And so, but they also had sort of, I would say it's imperfect.
Yes,
stuff
imperfect.
They knew that people tended to bond spren, when one of the signs...
Well, they didn't even know that they were bonding spren, I don't think that was clear.
That's fair.
They just knew that when people were
surviving things that they shouldn't survive, that was one sign that they were about to become a Ninth Radiant.
Right. So they started putting themselves in danger.
Right. And I want to say there were some callbacks to Way of Kings in this book, right? Because I think Way of Kings, they were talking about people would throw themselves off of cliffs or bridges or whatever. And that's literally what happens to Shallan and Kaladin.
Yeah, that's
right.
True. I didn't draw those parallels, but yeah, that's kind of cool. We should also say that these Envisagers group was a probably a splinter group from the Sons of Honors.
Okay, maybe. You think so?
It's because the Sons of Honors were also trying to bring back
the Heralds.
The Heralds, but through that they were trying to bring it. The Sons of Honor were trying to do that through bringing back Voidbringers, whereas the Envisagers were trying to bring back the Knights Radiance.
Okay, I don't know if I'd say, yeah, whatever. They, like I said, the way they're presented seemed more like they were a heretical cult of Vorinism, right? It's less, similar in
I don't know, it's all
yeah.
complicated, just like real history.
And real religion. Oh my god,
Let's talk about Zahel.
Vasher.
He only has about 10 million different names because he's been alive for like about 10 million different lifetimes.
I don't know if you remember, we had a rant about that during our Warbreaker episode.
Yes, because the thing that hit me about that discussion is the fact that I hadn't really internalized the fact that the in-world history like insisted on naming this person several different things because they couldn't comprehend that it was all the same person doing vastly different like.
Part of me still wonders like if, because we know to an extent that there's a lot about identity when that
capital
I, right? Maybe this is something for future discussion, but like we know in later Stormlight books, people who are highly invested, their appearance changes to match their identity, right?
What they think of,
right?
Themselves.
Their capital I identity, right? And so like a trans Knights Radiant, their body matches their gender identity, right? And so I wonder the switching of names so much on Vasher Zal, whatever.
You wonder if there's an associated physical discrepancy?
Yeah. Or I wonder like how much is that reflective of him trying to run away from from another identity, or is that driving changes to him?
I think history gave him the different names.
Not Zal.
Not Zaho.
Yeah, Zal versus Vasher. But I mean, we do see in Wind and Truth that Gavilar knows him by the name Vasher, right? So
probably because Hoyd and other Cosmere people
so like
refer to him as Vasher.
And what's her name?
I think Zahil is probably just trying to blend in more on planet.
Yeah, but his name's not symmetrical, and he's doing a terrible job of appearing like an Ardent.
Well, I do think that is because of the capital I identity.
Yeah,
I think that even if he were to shave his head, the hair would grow back immediately. So that I think that's why.
Right, we kind of see that with the royal locks. Yeah,
he's the only Ardent that doesn't have that's
head
not
shaved
bald,
and the square beard and whatever.
Well, and he's always described as like his beard is always scruff, right?
Yeah, and he looks kind of scraggly looking.
I do think that is capital I identity.
Yeah.
For some reason, he sees himself that way. Did we say that? The character from Warbreaker from Nalthis.
Yes. I guess. Yeah. I guess that knowing that he is. We already said I had a general spoiler thing at the top of this episode. Yeah. I don't know.
So he's one of. So if you remember from the Warbreaker episode, he's one of the kind of godlike figures that was kind of figuring out some in-world stuff for commands. He made the sword
Nightblood.
Nightblood.
Well, him and his now dead wife Shashara made
the sword.
So especially but he's godlike. They literally worship his kind as gods on Nalthis, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's also among them. He's one of the 5 scholars, capital F, capital S.
And there's only 3 of them alive, to our knowledge now.
Yeah, well, alive is an interesting.
Walking around. Walking around with a physical body.
Well, again, Claude, Arsteel, does that count?
That's true.
I would say so. If you count him, then there's 3 around. If you don't count him, there's only 2.
Okay. Well, anyways, there's more story to that Brandon's getting to eventually.
Warbreaker Part 2, Part Dos.
But this is what
breaking the war.
But this is what upsets me, because in Warbreaker there weren't any kind of weird idioms or anything surrounding color. Okay, but as soon as we freaking get to Stormlight, out comes these weird ass idioms.
He's got green around it or red around his ears or whatever.
Repeating myself makes me eat the wrong flower. That would have been fine had you actually used that in Warbreaker.
No. There's a school of thought that, when you're writing sci-fi fantasy where it doesn't make any sense for them to be speaking in English or Spanish or Portuguese or whatever language you're reading it in, well, that's, there's a license on the part of the author to that, in world translating it, right? And that would include idioms.
I don't know. I just get, I don't like it. It doesn't seem like a seamless experience for a Cosmere reader.
Or it's meant to be a clue that he's from
Well, yes, but it's a little too heavy-handed for me.
Yeah, and yet
clumsy.
I still
It's
missed
clumsy.
it. And yet I still missed it my first few reads.
Okay.
Until I saw online that he was from Warbreaker, and then I went and read Warbreaker.
Well, if you hadn't read Warbreaker before, then like of course you missed it.
Well, no, but like it's supposed to be a clue that he's an off-worlder.
What I really
a world hopper.
What I really like is that we see Zahel playing his like game with colored rocks.
Yeah.
Which is presumably the game that the gods play in Warbreaker, the one where what's his face?
The made up rules. Yeah,
the made up rules, and what's his face, the main character? Lightsong would just like chuck any ball, whatever.
Yeah.
And was like, "Oh, you're a genius. I like never would have thought to have done that." And he's like,
I don't even know the
rules.
I don't
even know the rules.
Yeah.
But we see Zahel doing this, playing this by himself, and apparently pleased with himself and his whatever. I don't know. I liked that a lot better.
Well, and
than these stupid idiom things.
Well, and to put a point on it, Vasher being a returned, having all these breaths, he's got all the an unknown number of heightenings, right? But we know that includes things like life sense, where Kaladin cannot sneak up on him because he's got the sense he can detect living creatures around him.
Yeah, and we see that in the couple.
And Spren.
We can see that in the couple pages where we got Zahel's perspective, and he wakes up suddenly because he can sense someone approaching.
Yes, and that is not. That is a supernatural life sense, right? It's from his investiture.
And we don't know this explicitly, but in my headcanon, I do think that Zahel knows that Kaladin can feed and heal from Stormlight, which is why he so readily agrees to attack Kaladin with an unprotected Shardblade.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, because he knows more than anybody else does about the Knights Radiant, right? Because he based Nightblood off of the Shardblades. So that means he had to, at least on some level, understand.
So he's really freaking old.
Yes, and it's interesting looking back in retrospect on these 5 books. He knows so much information that they're trying to uncover. Like, he must know about how he obviously knew that Shardblades were spread, but he doesn't share that information with anybody.
How does that actually help anybody?
You got me there. You got me there. But he was apparently sharing all sorts of dangerous shit with Gavilar, but like that one would have been less dangerous to share, I would imagine.
I don't know.
But yeah.
I really wish that we knew more about what Gavilar heck he was doing.
But because we know that Vasher noticed Syl hanging around Kaladin, he had to have at least suspected that Kaladin was a budding Radiant.
True.
Right? Especially when he remarks on, Kaladin taking down Shardbearers.
So do you think his real reason for wanting to train him was just so Kaladin could actually survive?
His real reasons are inscrutable.
Okay.
I think he might have just liked Kaladin.
Well, to that point, Zahel also makes a point that I just don't want my friends to be killed, referring to the Kholins. I'm like, why is Zahel so attached to the Kholins? Like, you're not just going to
He's a family friend. He's known Adolin since he was a lad. A wee lad.
No, I can't. For someone who has lived as old as Zahel, that can't be
And he loves kids. He loves kids. Remember it from Warbreaker. He goes berserk when the kids are in trouble, and he's known Adolin since he was a kid.
I don't know. There's got to be a better reason.
Yeah, there probably is.
That we're never going to find out.
Man.
He calls Hoyd Dust.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Hoyd is also one with a million names.
Yes. And do we know anybody else who calls him Dust?
Not that I know of.
So, that should be interesting.
Although, I think, because there was a reference when one of the epigraphs, right, about how Hoyd has a lot of names, right?
Right. Because
Topaz and,
he's like, or whatever you're calling yourself these days. I did like the conversation between two terrible choices, knowing that Zahel is Kaladin, having two terrible choices and having to choose between one, and Vasher's like, yep. Every day I choose to keep breathing.
Yep.
He's like, yep.
Consuming breath.
Consuming breath.
Little bitty pieces of people's souls.
Yeah.
choose the option that lets you sleep at night is good advice. I think that's pretty straight to the point, applicable, not a bullshit answer.
Yeah. It's but it's also a very curmudgeonly answer, you know? Yeah. Anyway, it's good.
Speaking of people who are not what they seem, I also have to bring Rock into this. Okay, there's a couple little points, but they're like, you gotta pick them out, because you gotta tease them out, because this is what Brandon does. So here's a quote. An entire log. How had Rock lifted that thing?
Yeah.
Something is weird about Rock. Even beyond his blessing to see the Spren.
Blessing is an interesting choice of words there, isn't it? Because we know that the Khandra call their hemalurgic spikes blessings.
Yes. So there's a short story from Rock's perspective coming out, isn't that?
Yeah, novella. Yeah, but that's in a few years, maybe.
Well, I can't wait for that.
The working title is Horn Eater.
Yes. So we know that like the Horn Eater, living on the mountain, the Horn Eater people are a little bit different. They live in kind of the hot springs, and they have this kind of connection with what we presume to be
Cultivation's perpendicularity.
Cultivation's perpendicularity, which allows some of the people to see Spren. And there's more things, I am quite sure.
Yes.
That we don't know about yet.
Well, and we get the one of Rock's myths about Hoyd in this book, right? Is that an Oathbringer?
I think that's an Oathbringer, because all we know is that we don't get a story about Hoyd, but we do say that Rock does talk about Hoyd being the god of mischief.
He doesn't.
He can't hurt us.
Yeah, but Sigil gets real quiet when he starts, talking about that trickster god.
He recognizes it for that it's the Hoyd.
Yeah,
and possibly even knows that Hoyd cannot
hurt people
as a consequence of holding on to
the Dawn Shard.
We'll talk about more of that in other episodes, like Dawn Shard. We'll get to that soon.
Do you think Rock is super now? Like, is he invested strong, or is he just?
I have no freaking idea. Brandon just keeps on making shit up.
Well, because because we know that the Horn Eaters have listener ancestry, right? Not just human. It's listeners too.
Yeah, that's not in my brain yet. I think you said that in another episode, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, and that's like why. Same with the Herdazians. That's why they've got the
the thick nails.
Yeah, the thick pointed nails for the Herdazians. Something about why they eat shelled things so easily for the Horn Eaters.
Thick teeth. I don't know.
Yeah, which I'm like, how does that? It's not like they have carapace teeth. Anyway. But I'm wondering if that's something like how, Warform gives listeners superhuman strength. I wasn't sure if maybe he's got something like a permanent Warform going on. Or some of the benefits of that.
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is that there's a lot of trauma with Rock that we haven't explored, about the fact that he was born a fourth son, but then his brother died, so then he became a third son, so that he was gonna be a warrior or archer or whatever, and then
it's beneath him now.
It's beneath him now, and he hasn't quite settled with that. Also an awesome cook, but I am very much looking forward to his novella when it eventually comes out. Moving on to Hoyd, or Wit, or Dust, whatever you want to call him.
Cephandrius, Topaz.
What struck me on this reread is that he seems to immediately recognize Shallan. Like, in her flashbacks, like, Hoyd just, like, sees her and just immediately zeroes in, like...
Doesn't he do, like, a literal double take?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, does this have to do with how she looks? Like, does she look so much like her mother that he immediately knows who she is? Or is it there's something to do with his investiture, that he can see some kind of connection, or the fact that there's a Spren connection?
Let's say similar to Vastra, we know that Hoyd, routinely keeps large amounts of investiture, right? We don't see it in this book, but we see in other books that he can do things like awakening and perfect pitch, whatever. So imagine that he's got some sort of life sense and could sense that a Spren is there.
Yeah. Because the other thing that I'm not quite understanding is that Hoyd gets Shallan to do an illusion when she was a child. But this was before Pattern.
So it must have been while she was...
So, I mean, she's always been connected to Testament.
not always, but yeah, she must have been at that point. Yeah.
But this was after she had turned Testament into a Deadeyes.
Oh yeah, because it was after her mama died.
So we don't really know a whole lot about Radiants who
have broken their
oaths and what abilities they retain or not. But this is an indication that they do retain some of their abilities because Shallan was able to use some Stormlight that Hoyd gave her to create an illusion. It's very. Yeah. I don't get it. We don't have enough information, and Shallan is not a good thing because she's the exception to every single rule that there is.
There was a meme I saw about Shallan, and I can't remember what it was exactly now, but it's, she's always lying. She's
lying to herself, to others,
lying to other people,
and then Pattern's also lying.
Right, and she's lying to us, the reader, because she's lying to herself. She doesn't remember things. So, like, yeah, she's always lying.
The more I read Stormlight, the more frustrating it is to read Shallan chapters.
No, I thought the first time I read The Way of Kings, I thought Shallan chapters were tedious and boring, and now I love them. Shallan's great.
I have moved on to them just being frustrating because I'm just like, this is just lies that I cannot soar through.
Such delicious lies.
We do know that Hoyd shows up like for important events and things, and Hoyd did admit that he showed up for her, though he hadn't known it until he saw her. But I guess interacting with Hoyd was actually kind of, I think, the turning point. So I guess he's supposed to show up in situations where he could make a difference. I don't know, because I thought in some senses he's more just witnessing important events. So I don't know. I don't know
either. But yes, there's definitely, because like he doesn't super duper influence events in like Mistborn or White Sand, right? He does just go and witness.
I don't know, but
can I get a witness?
But Hoyd did a double take on seeing Shallan for the first time, and then we see him drink a powder.
Yeah. So we know that takes place after Secret History. Yes.
So what metal do you think he took? Do you think he took gold or something to see into her past or her future?
Oh no, because he was trying to negotiate, or he was doing something that involved negotiating.
Oh, so you think that was more the conversation with her father?
Yeah, rioting or soothing.
Okay.
Gold is an interesting one, though. I didn't even think about that. He could have been trying to.
Gold always gets pushed to the side.
Yeah. He could have been, because gold lets you see your own.
But there are other metals and alloys, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because the electrum but the electrum is the poor man's adium, and that's the alloy of gold. So if you were trying to see
somebody else's
past, that'd be maladium, and that doesn't exist anymore. It would be super rare.
You doubt that Hoyd would have it?
I doubt that he would waste it so frivolously when he could be,
Shallan seems to be a pretty unique character in the Cosmere.
I'm just saying that if you could leverage it in interacting with Harmony or Marsh, because that would be able to be used to extend Marsh's life. That's a plot point in Era 2.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Mistborn Era 2, excuse me. Yeah.
I have a note here, but Wit doesn't get along with the vessel for cultivation.
Yes. He says that because someone was asking if, I forget what the context was, but shouldn't you be, hitting on people your own age? And he's like, oh, there's only one of those people around here, and she and I don't get along much. Right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people Hoyd doesn't get along with. As far as his kind of motivations, which are still a mystery, there's a little bit of an indication in this book. Wit says, or somebody says Wit wants what he can't have.
Yeah.
So take that as you will. That's the only clue that we get from this story. And that he wants a story from Kaladin.
Yeah, and that's how we get Fleet.
So is there something to collecting stories that I don't
know? That's like his whole thing.
I know, but that's his pastime and his thing, but is there something more?
God forbid a guy have hobbies, right?
Well, I'm just wondering if
he's been alive for thousands.
Is there something more?
There's power in a story, dear.
Okay.
He's obviously obviously a self-insert of some kind, right? And so like the love and stories, like that's Brando Sando. That's B Money. That's also the readers, frankly. We love stories.
What story is Hoyd using to project the story of Fleet into Kaladin's mind?
Oh, what powers is he using?
Yeah, because it seems to be one way. So is he using breaths somehow? Because I don't think, is he, because for some reason I don't think it was.
It's not a normal light weaving, right? Because he doesn't have a spren yet.
Right.
But I think if...
Is he like sharing a memory almost?
Well, I think we get a little bit more insights into Yolish light weaving in Isles of the Emberdark, right? But I suspect it's a Yolish light weaving. It's a different type of light weaving.
I don't remember learning anything about Yolish light weaving.
Maybe we don't. I know that there's been Words of Brandon that there are, or maybe it was even in the Ars Arcanum, that light weaving in Roshar from the Knights Radiant is one type of illusion magic, right? But there are other types of light weaving in the Cosmere that work a little bit differently, maybe less.
I don't know. I remember thinking that maybe it was breaths because, like, Kaladin says he'd been there, he'd felt it. So it felt more like Kaladin experiencing one of Hoyd's memories. Like, Hoyd had been there watching Fleet. Like, Fleet was a real person.
And we know that that breaths can be used to mess with memories.
Yeah.
Although I think we've only ever seen that in terms of cutting out memories or storing memories.
Right.
That would be interesting, though, because, like, I'm just trying to think it out loud here a little bit. One of the recurring items in plot points in Mistborn Era 2 is like having unsealed metal mines, right, where anybody can use them. And we know that copper mines, we see one in the end of Bands of Mourning where their wax taps into somebody else's copper mine, right, a little coin, and that's how he finds out about the Sovereign, right? So I'm wondering if Hoyd already knows how to set up that kind of thing, and maybe he wasn't using
unkeyed investiture, you mean?
Yeah, maybe he was using maybe he did something special with the breath to share it, right? Because we know that breath can be used to store memories just like a copper mine can.
Right. So that's what I think is what's happening. Yeah. But then for that to have happened, then this whole Fleet story would have had to have been a real thing,
which we get confirmed in Wind and Truth, right?
I can't remember, but what...
Because Ishar is very dismissive of the thing.
Well, what gives me pause is that in the story, the Stormfather stopped. Like, the storm stopped.
And that's just not how the Stormfather works.
Right.
But we also know, especially, it's a big thing in Wind and Truth, that the Stormfather ain't what he used to be.
That's true. But it would also give the indication that Fleet is possibly a cognitive shadow because he died, but then got up and kept racing.
Yes, absolutely, he's a cognitive shadow.
So, do we get to see him?
I'm trying to think through the Fleet story real quick, but isn't he Tanavast? Or a stand-in for Tanavast?
I don't know.
No, maybe not. There's definitely some parallels with the story.
I want to see Fleet. He seems like an interesting character.
Yeah, and I guess if Ishar was there for Fleet, then it doesn't make sense for him to be Tanavast too. Yeah. All right, fair enough.
Frost references Hoyd giving up on a gemstone now that it is dead. What gemstone?
That's money being tantalizing with incomplete details that we can speculate about. Because we also know that there's something about Hoyd and a topaz, right? That's from that same freaking epigraph.
So you think the gemstone is a topaz thing?
Yeah, there's some kind of a topaz that was special. Because we also, if we think about Rhythm of War and how there's a whole thing about imprisoning things in gems, right? You can kind of wonder if there was someone whose soul got trapped in a gem, basically.
Maybe his wife?
I was about to say I can't see Hoyd romantically involved with anybody, but I guess that also happens on screen.
That brings me up to...
But I'm also but even still, it really didn't work out very well.
So we know that Hoyd has a wife thanks to the Emberdark. We don't know when he got the wife, but just sometime before the Emberdark. Which
is as far in the Cosmere as we've gotten.
So it is possible that Yasna is his wife.
No.
Well, there's no evidence against it.
Yeah, but
I think it's unlikely. But I think it's unlikely. But there's no evidence they can point to that's not Yasna. But it's interesting because we know that, at the end of Arc 1 that, Yasna and Wit were trying a relationship. But at the ends of Words of Radiance, we kind of see them interacting. And prior to this point, Yasna didn't think well of Wit. But Wit was there when Yasna comes back from the cognitive realm. And the conversation that they have doesn't seem to be flirty at all to me.
Oh, no.
If anything, there's something on Wit's side. If that. But maybe it was the walk back to civilization together that kicked things off. Because it was kind of 0 to 60. Because the first time that you got that is mentioned that there's a thing there is kind of out of the blue for me.
Right, but I thought that's because it's not romantic. Right, they're both using each other for different needs, right? Yasna needs information out of Hoid, and Hoid, I think, is desperate for a person to connect to. Yeah, I mean,
There's something there.
No, there's nothing there. Well, not nothing. Right. Anyway, yeah.
It's not the traditional relationship. No, yeah. But there's a stronger bond, lower sea connection relationship.
So Frost Hoid gave up on a gemstone now that is dead. What kind of gemstone could that be? Would it be a Dawn Shard? You're
backtracking the conversation. Okay.
What? Yeah, well, I was trying to circle back to the point that we never answered.
I don't have an answer for that.
All right, fair enough.
You had something more to respond than what I had.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like I said, I suspect it's got something to do with the topaz, but we also don't know what that is a reference to.
Speaking of things that we don't know what references to, I would love to hear more about the in-world stories about Talon's Scar. I'd love to hear more about the single tear that Rhea was said to have shed. We don't get any of that. But I feel like
I want to know more about...
I would bet money that Brandon has all of those stories detailed out.
And
maybe not written down, but detailed in his head.
Yeah, I mean, there's other stories I want to know more about, but there's several in Oathbringer that I'm just like, there's something, he's hitting at something here. But anyway, yeah.
So I'm skipping some points here.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at your notes.
Yeah, so this is unrelated to anything else we've talked about today, but there was a reference to how Truth Watchers never spoke or write of what they did. So maybe Renarin isn't so weird.
But I mean, maybe I got the impression that was more laying the groundwork, preventing a plot hole about how Yasna didn't immediately recognize him as having a corrupted spren. Is that there's...
Oh, because there wasn't any...
Because they're just much more secret compared to other orders.
Right, so there wasn't any knowledge that she could have poured through to recognize Renarin Spren as being different.
Yeah. I mean, B Money, he's probably got, multiple, puts that there and then can use it to do multiple things.
Okay, I have some things about Dalinar's visions that have been annoying me. In the past, his first vision is seeing the Pure Lake and a thunderclass ripping from the ground, and there's an evidence of a fortress of obsidian that's no longer there. There must be more to learn about this in Arc 2, because that's a kind of a pretty significant thing, this big black obsidian fortress that's no longer there. Something major must have happened.
Well, and
because both the fortress...
Well, maybe a desolation happened?
I don't know, but
I'm more interested in it and in it being the Pure Lake, right? Because the Pure Lake
is weird,
right? It's not a perpendicularity, right? But it's not a perpendicularity. It's special somehow.
Almost as if there was another shard that had been hanging around and then left.
No, maybe, yeah.
I mean, that's what it presents, a possible thing that could have been happening, but, the history that we've been told and that we've been given of the entire history of the planet doesn't indicate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but I didn't think anything of the Obsidian Fortress not being there other than this. It was a long time ago, and...
But also in that vision, I think Adolin's armor was mentioned.
Well, he didn't know that it was Adolin's.
For some reason, there's some kind of indication that was Adolin's armor that he's currently using.
I just assumed it was another, thing from the same Order of Knights Radiant.
I'll have to go back in my notes and look, but I think That was intended to be Adolin's. That was
specifically.
Yes.
Yeah, because we don't really know anything about where his armor came from, right? Because we know about his blade Maya and how, and that whole business, but we don't have the same level of understanding about his shard plate.
Okay.
I don't know, but like the thunderclast dripping from the ground is foreshadowing for the next book when thunderclast drips out of the ground.
And there was also some foreshadowing of Dalinar forging a bond with the Stormfather. Sorry. My notes are all astray.
That's okay. They're more existent than mine.
I guess these notes are more about foreshadowing Elikar's bond with his friend. Elikar was ranting that nobody took his safety seriously, that nobody listened, and that they should be looking for things he saw over his shoulder in the mirror. So kind of seeing things out of the corner of his eye. We saw Shallan go through that.
Yep.
Elikar says...
The cryptics are watching him.
Elikar says, it's a pattern, though I can't figure it out yet. Talking about patterns, that's definitely a Lightweaver thing. When you came, the shadows went away. We know that Cryptics and Windspren don't like each other, so having Kaladin hang around with a Windspren definitely would have pushed the Cryptics away.
Going back to your thing about the Pure Lake being maybe related to a different
or it could have been cultivation and she just moved her perpendicularity.
No, because there's a fan theory that Noadon is either a vessel or an avatar of another shard.
You're playing right in my next notes.
Yes. So, but it's like there's something funky with Noadon. We definitely don't know what's up there.
We don't know what's up there. But
it gets like right now it's he's probably some kind of night raiding or whatever. But like in the next book, there's more Noadon shit that's like that doesn't make sense.
Like this seems real but not real at the same time.
Yeah.
Like Noadon's actually responding.
Yeah.
He has some really weird names that I can't pronounce.
Bajerdan.
So he was an ancient king before the orders were formed. He wrote the book that Dalinar is obsessed with.
The Way of Kings.
The Way of Kings, the ones that kind of unified all of the Radiants and gave them kind of
a manifesto.
He took all of the Surge Binders together, so they then called themselves Radiants. He had a lot to say about Urithiru and being in connecting cities, but not by roads. But yeah, he's just he's someone we have to watch out for. I bet we'll see Noadon in other planets.
Oh, I was about to say, I just,
unless he's invested so much that he can't leave the planet.
I just want to mark all of his chapters and then go back to them, in a decade or two after.
He seems like more of the classic wise man.
A Gandalf character.
That does not have the annoying character piece that Hoy does. Like an actual wise and kind man that you would want to have a conversation with and not Hoy who will...
A Gandalf. Yeah. We can, okay.
A Dumbledore, whatever. I don't get how Harry Potter's having a resurgence.
I mean, marketing, but anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about the Stormfather / Almighty. So Honor, the Shard, made Stormfather a Spren. So Spren are little pieces of God. So Honor carved off a little piece of himself to make the Stormfather a Spren. So Stormfather has some of Honor's powers, but then Honor, which was being housed within the vessel of Tanavast, so Tanavast dies.
Yes, kind of.
But the cognitive shadow of Tanavast then merges with the Stormfather?
Yes.
That's all very confusing.
Yes. Right. Well, you got to think about what a splinter is and then a cognitive shadow. Because like there's a Venn diagram and they're overlapping circles, but they're not one and the same, right? So like a splinter is a bit of investiture that's enough of it there to be self-aware, right? It's its own entity. The Spren are splinters. The Sions in Elantris are splinters. The Returned in Warbreaker are splinters, right? The Stormfather is a very big splinter, right? So it has its own sapience. In a cognitive shadow, a large enough piece of investiture, when a person holding a large amount of investiture dies, that investiture can get imprinted with their memories and their soul, not exactly, with their memories and their identity, and basically it persists.
It persists.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, like you said, the cognitive shadow of Tanavest merged and became one with the Stormfather.
Which would explain some of the big personality differences that we notice with the Stormfather.
Yes.
Potentially.
There's a few things that I never quite understood that are pointed out in Wind and Truth, where the full extent of Stormfather's unreliable memories of the past, where there's like 1,000-year gap in his memories or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like there's something there too. I don't think that's just related to
We can never get
Tanavest
the
time.
full story from Brandon.
Yeah. There's always another secret,
There's
you might
always
say.
another secret. But it is confusing. You're not alone. I don't think we have the full story yet.
Yeah.
And it will continue to be confusing until we get the story.
Yeah. I don't know. I read it sort of biblically when Stormfather created an unplanned high storm during the Weeping to sort of crash into the Everstorm and try to cut everything apart, you know.
Yeah, no, I get the sense of like, let's just wipe the slate clean. Like,
yeah, it felt almost Noah's Ark, you know, right?
Yeah. Like, let's just wipe the board clean and I won't have to think about this anymore.
Yeah. Or I mean, yeah. Yeah.
What does surprise me is like how readily the Stormfather accepts Dalinar's bond. I don't know if it was because by that point the bond was already kind of forming and there was really no going back.
Well, and
he couldn't deny the connection if he wanted to, so he just went along with it.
Yes, absolutely. And especially like we get more of that in Wind and Truth, or like that same thing gets laid a little bit more bare, gets more apparent then, where
because the
Stormfather, the cognitive shadow, the remnant of Tanavast, has different wants and desires from Stormfather, the
Splinter.
The little bit of honor that wants to follow the rules, that wants to, you know, right?
So, and then layer on the fact that bonding with Dalinar also changes the personality. So we've got the little part of honor that was splintered, at war with the little part of Tanavast.
Yeah.
At war with the little part of Dalinar that is influencing.
At war, or, you know, being changed by the experiences.
It's all just like melding and not.
Right. And like, we know that Tanavast, So, I mean, the reason why the Stormfather doesn't want to bond with Dalinar is it told Gavilar that it's moving on from the Kholins, right? It doesn't want to break that promise. It doesn't like lying. Right, but at the same time, it was also commanded by Honor before Honor died that it needed to find a new vessel for Honor, and the most likely candidate is still Dalinar. So it's caught in that contradiction, and that's why it's so resistant, but also so readily able to accept it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Neither does the Stormfather.
Yeah, that is clear.
You've got one of those about what's up with the Soulcasters starting to turn into stone.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, that's savantism, right? We see that with Spook in Mistborn Book 3, The Hero of Ages. They have been using their investiture so much that it started to become a part. Their use of that has become part of their identity, and that has negative drawbacks. Where they, like how Spook is.
So if the Soulcasters just didn't care about their jobs as much, they wouldn't turn into stone.
Yeah, if they weren't, right? And we see that in Oathbringer in another interlude where there's someone with a smoky soulcaster, she's starting to turn to smoke as well.
Right.
Right? And that's because they're so practiced with it. And she talks about how, in that interlude, she talks about how the culture of having the soulcasters, where the device is the soulcaster, the person wielding the device is the soulcaster, the act of using the device is called soulcasting, right? It is so
ingrained.
It is a part of them, right? And that contributes to that savantism, right? It helps them use the soulcaster more effectively. It also leads to them turning themselves to stone, or to smoke, or whatever.
Still creepy.
Yes. Oh, and you also see something about the Stormstriders.
So yeah, let me read the quote. So this is Kaladin. He swore,
and it's in the middle of the high storm when he's in the cavern, right?
Yeah. He swore he saw an enormous figure walking up there, a glowing inhuman form followed by another, alien and sleek, striding the storm, leg after leg until the glow passed. I don't even know what to make of this.
They're a mystery. That
seems to be the theme of this episode.
People have asked Brando about the Storm Striders, and they also appear in Oathbringer when Dalinar goes out into Ice Storm in a flashback. And apparently he's raffoed questions about those, so they will show up at some point, maybe, or he's leaving it open to them showing up. But yeah, they're weird.
Great. We also don't understand why the eastern face of the Urithiur Tower has a straight.
Yeah, why it's a sheer face?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And why it's facing the origin.
I mean, if it weren't...
But like multiple characters remarked on that.
Mm-hmm. Because it's the opposite of how it normally is in their culture, right? You want it to be a windbreak.
Right.
I thought it was about the aura. It's about we're so high above all of it. We're high above the storms. We're going to have the
you think it's a statement?
Possible geometry facing the high storms. Yes, I think it's a statement.
Does that make any architectural sense? You want to give people windows.
Yes, but they're already used to not having windows on the east side.
It doesn't sit well with me.
No. Well, and your theory is creepy, dear. It's...
Because it's...
haunted.
Because it's a dead shell that's haunted, and you gotta wake it back up.
Or you had another note that I wanted to follow up on.
Oh, go ahead.
So there's a plague in the Pure Lake, right? And I
don't even remember. I really need to take better notes.
Well, no, it's a very side Easter egg thing where, and there's I forget whether it's in one of the Ars Arcanum or whether it was a word of Brandon that clarified it, but it's just an Easter egg where the Scadrians, the people that we see from the 17th Shard trying to, chase down Hoyd, and
they introduce a plague.
Yeah, it's the common cold. And we later see a follow up in I want to say it's Oathbringer, it might be Rhythm of War,
and
where
this is why
it turns out to not be anything serious. It's they brought the common cold from Scadrial to Roshar.
And this is why the characters in Star Trek get berated so much.
Yes.
Because
no, they don't.
Well, don't they you don't?
There's a prime directive.
You don't. Well, you don't want to interact with civilizations, because.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have a Columbian exchange where there's you'll bring a whole bunch of germs and kill everybody, right? Yeah.
Which is what the Scadrians also employed on purpose with the AVR.
Hey.
They got a little bit smart though and say, "Hey, we have a solution." After enough people died, birds died. Okay, Kremling. Are we ready for Kremling Watch?
Yes.
Okay. I still am not very good at noticing Kremlings or Sleepless. I have a couple. I only have 3 points.
I need to go grab my copy of the book because I have more than what you have written here. Shallan definitely sees a few in her flashbacks.
Yes. I mean, that makes sense because in the Way of Kings, I had mentioned, in some of the flashbacks, I guess they weren't flashbacks, but in some of the perspectives that we saw from Shallan's brothers, there were kind of Kremlings hanging around. And it definitely makes much more sense knowing that Shallan and most of her brothers are children of a herald. So the Kremlings the Sleepless would want to kind of keep tabs on them.
Well, and presumably they also saw that she had bonded a Spren.
That too. But why would you why would a Sleepless be hanging underneath her brother's chair?
To watch.
Shallan wasn't there. Shallan had already left. But they're keeping an eye on
Well, and they maybe knew about the ghost blood connection with her father.
That we still are super unclear about. I have a quote here. Kremlings and larger crabs scuttled in every direction, some nearby making clicking sounds at her as if to ward her off. This was when Shallan washed up on the shore from the shipwreck. So that one was a little bit more obvious. We also have kind of when Kaladin was in his cell, a little Kremling that was creeping along the edge of the roof. She, being Syl, stood over it, eyes widening at some word that I didn't copyright, red and violet color of its shell. We don't often get the color of the shell, so that's probably significant in some way. So I don't know if we're going to come across a Sleepless later that has red and violet.
Well, I think in it
coloring.
Even if not, it's just to draw attention that it's a noteworthy Kremling, right?
noteworthy Kremling.
Yeah. 'Cause any Kremling that gets extra description is probably a sleepless.
Yeah. Teft keeping watch over, like, waiting for Kaladin and Shallan to come back from the chasms. Teft noticed a Kremling scuttled past. So these are all super subtle. And I picked out 3, but it sounds like Nick may have picked out quite a few more.
No, I can't. I didn't organize my shit. I don't. There's anytime you see the Kremling, they're just really keeping an eye on everything, and they write the if you read the bits on the back of the book on the back covers, that's in world from the perspective of the sleep. There was a Hoyd story that we didn't dig into about the 2 blind men at the end of an era contemplating the nature of beauty, and I thought that was, I don't know what the significance is, but I know that there is significance to it. 2 blind men waited at the end of an era contemplating beauty. They sat atop the world's highest cliff, overlooking the land and seeing nothing. Can beauty be taken from a man? The first asked the second. And then the second replied, yeah, it was taken from me. I can't remember it. I've been blind since a child. I prayed to the God beyond each night to restore my sight, so that I may find beauty again. God beyond reference.
Wait, God beyond? As an ad nauseum?
It's capital G, capital B, baby.
So another God, yeah. Well, anyways, you take eyes, take your nose, take your mouth, take your ears.
Yes.
What is beauty, and when the pain lessens?
What if all he knew is pain? Does the pain change day by day? No. Well, then would beauty be, to that person, the times when pain lessens? There we go. And the conclusion of it is the messenger, Hoyd. To be human is to seek beauty, Shallan. Don't despair. And then that's when, he gets Shallan to make the illusion, the light weaving.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good scene. I like that one.
And just to kind of wrap up on some more things that are difficult to notice, we've got world hoppers. So not Naz, which is kind of Chris's sidekick, and he gets kind of sent all around the world to like make maps and do research for Chris. Has made an appearance. He was the lanky man that Rock had shooed away in an Arden's robe when Nas was trying to draw the Bridgeman. We have an introduction to the World Singers, telling tales of distant kingdoms. That is kind of more of a Cosmere-wide profession. Mraize is working for Master Thydakar, aka Kelsier. There is a reference to a leader in Tukar as being kind of off of his rocker, who is actually a herald.
That's Ishar, baby.
Ishar. He was the herald who kind of took on all the pain from the rest of the herald, so he's a little bit more unstable than the rest. And they're all pretty unstable.
Did we already talk about references to Adolin losing his feet?
Losing his feet?
Yeah. There's foreshadowing. I had a note, and it's near the end of the book during the battle where Adolin is trying to give Shallan a ride on the horse. He chuckled. If you said you don't have a lot of experience riding, so I picked a horse that had a lot of experience being ridden. Trust me, you'll be thankful. I want to ride in a majestic chart as we begin our expedition, and you can do so slowly. Technically, slow speeds can be very majestic. Technically, a man doesn't need all his toes. Shall we remove a few of yours and prove it? He laughed. As long as you don't hurt my face, I suppose.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I mean there were a few others scattered in here.
I forget, does he lose his foot?
He loses his whole leg after a thunderclast falls on it.
That'll get fixed as soon as he gets the sprint.
Because all the sprint, and he's not gonna bond the sprint.
He's gonna bring Maya back to life.
But they're not bonded in the same way. Anyway, whatever.
There is also Felt, who we talked about shortly before.
Felt, not Flint.
Oh.
I was like, what? I was like, that's not his name. Felt.
Felt is the scout that tells Shallan her map is wrong, and actually helps find the Oath Gate, which is probably more intervention than Felt probably meant to give the situation.
Well, because he's a member of the Ghost Bloods, although he doesn't like Mraize. So you wonder if he was...
Do we know who Felt is working with?
Well, we know that he is a member of the Ghost Bloods.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, in Wind and Truth, it's confirmed.
Okay. Well, they're not all one unified.
Right, but we also know that he works with Mraize, but doesn't particularly like him,
Okay. slightly remember this now.
Yeah. So he might have already known about... So if for some reason he did already know about the Oath Gate, he wouldn't have had the ability to unlock it because he doesn't have a living shard blade. Yeah. So that would be his reason to nudge Shallan in that direction.
I suspect that he didn't intend to make that big of a difference. We also see in the same time that we see Felt hanging around kind of scouting things, we also see Lynn, who makes more of an important appearance in the next book, but she is there in Words of Radiance. I will mention a couple things about Kaladin before we wrap up. So Kaladin has a couple dreams where he dreams that he is the Storm, like he had done this before. So the Storm Father refers to him as Son of Honor, which is kind of weird.
He doesn't refer to other people as a Son of Honor.
No, he doesn't. But he also takes the place of a herald and not a bond. Like Kaladin eventually takes the place of a herald and not a bondsmith. So I'm confused because Tanavast was not a herald. He was a bondsmith.
Tanavast was not a bondsmith. He was honor.
He was honor. Well, he was a vessel.
Yes.
So it doesn't make sense to me because, like... I'm
not sure... the Stormfather doesn't have to understand everything he does either. But we know that he's so invested. He's got to have access. He's got to be able to look into the spiritual film and be affected by it. So, like, maybe he just knows...
does he foresee that Kaladin's going to eventually be a vessel?
I don't know. There's something funky going on there.
Because there is no more honor. Because there is no more honor.
No. Well, kind of.
Well, I guess we don't really know how two shards come together, if they actually completely come together, or if they're still...
I thought... Yeah, I need to reread Wind and Truth, because I thought there's a bit at the end where it's like the mixing of odium and honor to become retribution. I didn't think that was a fully thing. I thought honor... Like, that there was still some strife in there.
Yeah. I don't know. We talk about Shallan having special abilities all the time, right? And Shallan's like not a good case study because like she breaks all the rules.
Yeah.
Kaladin does this too. Okay,
yeah.
So when he's learning to walk on walls, he appears to be able to see into Shadesmar.
Yeah.
Kaladin thought he saw shadows of a world that was not, shadows of another place, and in that place, a distant sky with a sun enclosed almost by a corridor of clouds.
Yeah.
So like, being able to see into Shadesmar is not a wind runner thing to my knowledge, but Kaladin was doing it.
Right. Well, and we know that there are other, it's mostly the Elseschallers who get in and out of Shadesmar easily. We know that the Lightweavers can kind of sort of do it, but it's harder for them. I'm wondering if that's just something about each of the Orders of Knights Radiance. They just have different abilities to being able to get in and out of there.
So they may all have like different affinities, like maybe they can do all of it to some extent, but
well, because we also know back in the day before there were Knights Radiance, if you were a Surge Binder, you had all the surges.
What?
Yeah, in Wind and Truth in Wind and Truth they talk about that was part of how they destroyed planet they were on before they came to Roshar.
Oh, everybody had access to everything.
Well, all the Surge Binders had all of the surges. It wasn't until they got to Roshar and they locked it with the honor, sort of took it all back, that it was they were able to bomb the spread and get 2 surges at a time.
Totally missed that.
Yes. Well, they comment on it in Wind and Truth because they were there were the few soon to be heralds were using all sorts of different surges.
Huh.
They weren't supposed to be, but anyway.
We'll have to dig into that later because that's blowing my mind right now. It seems like someone was playing with Kaladin's and Shallan's emotions when they were in the chasm together. Like they both go from like freaked out to almost happy and back again.
Yeah, that's called trauma bonding. That's called trauma bonding, and that's because they were going through some real rough shit.
Well, but then there's like little moments where she smiled at him and then continued on her way, humming to herself.
That's because they're horny teenagers.
Actually, the day was looking much better. Why had she been in a bad mood earlier? Like it's almost she's reflecting to herself, like, things have shifted. I don't really know.
She's gloating after pissing off Kaladin, teasing him.
Well, I'm wondering, is it because they're getting further away from Odium's perpendicularity?
No.
You don't even want to take a moment Let that soak in, absorb it, consider it.
Odium's perpendicularity in the Shattered Planes?
Yes, and they were walking back towards the war camps, getting further away from the perpendicularity.
I don't want to think about it. Nah.
It's because the thought's too good. The thought's too good.
Yeah.
All right.
We got to go get our kids some daycare.
Okay. One last thing. I swear, it's the end. I also think there was something weird happening with Zahil and the duel.
Yeah, how his voice just is... Yeah, there's something weird there.
Is there a heightening that allows you to speak into people's minds?
No.
You know all the heightenings.
I don't have them memorized, but that would be one that would stand out.
Zahil has
That's
unknown
true.
number of heightenings.
That's fair. He could just be breaking all the rules. Because I mean,
or we just got to a heightening that we haven't learned about.
You know what?
But then,
you know what? You might be right because there is
freely.
Of course, you're always right. I shouldn't even contradict you, because what is it like? The 9th or 10th heightening is that they don't need to touch the thing to awaken it, and I don't think they need to actually speak either, right? So he could have given a mental command to the fucking sand to carry his words,
or his armor or something, because instinct, then something deeper guided his steps.
It wouldn't be the shard plate because it's invested and it resists.
Okay, but he's also a super powerful being, and he had to probably
yeah, okay.
Something was going on there that involved heightenings and breath or something, because that was weird. Okay, just wanted to get that off my chest because
thanks, listener,
it's been bothering
for listening to our podcast. We've been Cosmere Casual. Our social media handle is Cosmere Casual. Our email is cosmerecasual@gmail.com. Our intro and outro music is licensed through Tribe of Noise. The song is Odyssey and the artist is Ketsa.
And we will get to another book on the next episode. Until next time, keep your wits about you.